Okay, we're on. Yes, we're on. Okay, so far no echoes. Okay, good. Here we go then. Greetings, everyone. Welcome, bienvenue to another Shadow Council episode. I'm your host, Lord of Shadows, and this is with me, my co-host TK, the Lucky Bastard. And today we have a real treat for you guys because we have first and as ever in our Shadow Council a guest star, Polly.
Good to be here.
Yeah, pleasure's all ours to have you here and all that. So today, as our subject, we're going to talk about the Twilight Zone. Now, few episodes back, if you guys have been watching, TK and I have we talked about a certain franchise, Ben 10. I don't know if you ever, talked about old famous. I don't know.
He did fill me in on that one.
Right. And basically, this is a franchise that for me was the Unknown Regions, and my dear friend TK, the Lucky Bastard, took the wheel. So this time, since this, even for me, is going to be a place where no Shadow Council member has ever gone before for me, I'm going to give you, Paulie, the wheel to kind of like take the lead of the Twilight Zone. So for anyone out there who haven't watched the Twilight Zone, please could you kind of brief us about it?
Sure. So basically, the Twilight Zone is a sci-fi series, basically with fantasy, sci-fi, anything that's like all it's not really horror, but it's more like it's kind of like mysterious in type of way. And it's been out from the classic series, premiered from 1959 to 1966. And then the 80s, they have an 80s movie of that Twilight Zone, and they have an 80s series that's inspired by that movie. So after that's finished, they do have the 2000s, which I'm not really a fan of, but I guess it's okay. And then they have 2019 with Jordan Peele with narrating. So I couldn't really say for sure if I watched it. Like, I didn't watch the 2019, so I can't really say for sure what I think about it.
So, I mean, we mentioned that before, like very briefly. Like I said, I only know it's an anthology series, but basically each episode has its own story. And so far, there are like 4 series, I think. Like one is the original from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one was like in the 80s and a little bit of the 90s. Then the last 2000s, right?
Correct. Well, the 2000. Then there was one from 2019.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like the 2000s.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, now, I mean, when we talked about like doing the Twilight Zone, I did a little bit of research as well. I mean, I watched a little bit some clips here and there, on YouTube, and especially from the black and white, TV show. And I have, and for what I've seen, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like it appears like every single episode ends up with like, making you thinking.
Yes, that is correct. That's what the show is supposed to make you do. It's supposed to make you think. Like, you might like relate from fantasy or reality, like it's like comparing apples to oranges or whatever, how that works.
I mean, to be fair, when I first heard about the Twilight Zone, I literally thought it was I literally thought it was like a sci-fi story about like a guy who goes like in different dimensions. Like it kind of made me sound the title. It made me like make it like sounded to me like that in a way. And then later on, I realized it was like totally different from what I imagined.
I thought the same thing. Actually, my first thought was, has somebody had a camera in my head all these years?
Yeah, but I will tell you this, like some of the I mean, after seeing like few of the clips and kind of like story wise of the Twilight Zone, it kind of I will say this, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like 2 types of like stories. Like one of them is the X-Files, and also, I mean, just a little bit. It reminds me, especially with the way how it ends, it reminds me a little bit of the Goosebumps stories, where basically, like, in every like scary story ends up almost the same way as the Twilight Zone episodes, and like either something happens like out of nowhere, or it makes you think. I don't know if you ever read any Goosebumps books
R.L.
or.
Stein?
Excuse
Is
me?
it the R.L. Stein?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I remember watching the series, but I didn't know if there was like another one after that. Like I remember the older one. I might have read one or two books, maybe one book of R.L. Stein. So I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
the 2000s maybe of R.L. Stein series.
yeah, I mean, basically, that's for what I've seen. That's basically what the Twilight Zone remind me of, like the Goosebumps franchise and the X-Files, especially like the whole mystery and also like very alien themed. Like remind me of that.
And that's
I
the
mean,
whole. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's the point, though. I think it's trying to it's trying to make the audience get to the edge of their seats, but it's also trying to give them like maybe not so much of it might be the moral, but it also gives them an afterthought. Hey, let's leave the audience to keep to their jump to that conclusion or like form their own opinions.
Because now, I mean, and then basically, my kind of like my very overall first experience with Twilight Zone, way back in the day for me, it was like, and again, back then I didn't even know that was part of it, but there was a certain like episode, which I thought it was the X-Files, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was about, who was it? It was about like a certain grandma who died and taking the soul or body of a boy. Uh, it had something to do like with a grandma who died, who was like in black magic or something, and then she tried to possess the body of the grandson, basically. And I don't know if that was like, I think that was like from the 80s or 90s, I think. Yeah, I mean, so that was kind of like my very first experience with the Twilight Zone, even though ironically, I never even figured out that was from the Twilight Zone.
I mean, there was something called like Nothing in the Dark, but I don't think I've seen that episode. There is an old woman, and then there is a guy with it, but I don't think I remember like what the plot was for that episode.
Yeah, I mean, like my memories for that was like very vague. But after seeing a few pictures, I was like, hey, I remember that. I get the mostly I remember like she was like in bed. You can see her dead hand, and then all of a sudden, like she was grabbing the boy's hand, and then you see her all monstrous, deformed or whatever. Again, it's all in the fog for me, but like that's like the only that was kind of like my only experience with the Twilight Zone. But I do remember seeing a lot of times that in the black and white, the original, the guy with the three eyes. In the what was the ice cream store or something?
It was I think I know which one you're talking about. There is an episode called Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? And I think, spoilers to those who haven't watched the episode, I think one is from Venus and another one's from Mars, but I forget like which one. I think the guy who run the diner is from Venus and the customer is from Mars. So he took off his hat and revealed the third eye. So
right.
It does give some twists and plot twists through that episode.
Yeah, but here's the thing, because like for me personally, I was never a big fan of the anthology TV shows, because like after seeing some of the episodes that for me were like really awesome, then I wish them to continue. Like I would wish to know what will happen next, like and so after like basically going like to the next episode, and then you realize it's a completely different thing, and I was like oh damn, like for example that thing with the guy with the ice cream with the third eye, I really wanted to know what happened next, and we never found out.
It leaves the audience wondering, so it's kind of like they can form their own conclusions, like instead of like continuing to the next episode. Like it's just like a simple scenario in a very normal life.
I mean, what about you, TK? Like, what was your experience with the Twilight Zone?
So I watched an episode and a half today with Polly.
Mhm.
It's interesting. I like it. I like the concept. It actually kind of makes me think though how it's self-contained. It made me think of another animated show just now. I don't know if it's not similar, but I mean the whole self-contained thing I think is. It kind of makes me think of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Oh, well, I mean, now that you mention it, I don't know, it does a little bit.
Because that
It
was very
does.
self-contained, those episodes. They were like one-offs. A lot of them were.
Mm.
I don't know. It kind of makes me think of that. I kind of wonder now if the creators of that show took inspiration from the Twilight Zone.
Mm. I mean, yeah. By the way, the episode I was talking about it's called Grandma, like with two M's.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there
Yeah,
was an episode on that for the 80s Twilight Zone. And it
yeah,
is Stephen King book based on that.
yeah. So that's the episode I remember, the
Mhm.
only one. And that's literally, and that was that's the one I was literally like, even when I was little, I remember doing research, like what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? Okay, he took the body of her grandson. Like, what's gonna happen next? And then we never figured out what it was. So we should know, again, brings me back to my overall, like, never been a big fan of the anthology TV shows, but I will give you credit. It really keeps you, like, wondering
Right.
and making your own personal theories and thoughts, like, what do you think could have happened, next and everything. Mm. Which also I would say is kind of those, which is one of those reasons why it actually kind of keeps me writing stories of my own, kind of like, wondering of certain episodes, like what could have happened next, basically.
Mhm.
Mm.
I have a question for you, Polly.
Okay.
Okay, so
Don't think you're going to say the name, what I think that you're going to say.
no. This is a good one. So what was your first ever Twilight Zone episode? The first ever episode you watched?
So it wasn't the TV show. So there is other formats, like besides the TV show. They have a radio drama version of those episodes, and we see celebrities. So we see Jason Alexander doing The Obsolete Man and five people in search of an exit. And then we see Adam West, Richard Kind. So many stars that kind of redid the episode, maybe more modern. So I think the first one that I listened to before watching the show is it's the first set of the disc. So it's called A Kind of Stopwatch. And Lou Diamond Phillips did an excellent job doing that. The TV show kind of did good too. I kind of prefer him because I think I kind of like how he did his enthusiasm for that character. I think it's just, I don't know the behind the scenes, so I can't really say, but I just think that one is like spot on. Like, I do have preferences, like between the radio drama version or the TV show version. So it probably depends on my preferences.
Interesting. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned before, which again you mentioned his name before already, but some of the things, that when I did my research, also the Twilight Zone kind of reminded me of Stephen King, the way how he writes his own books, basically, and because, like, some of the things I've seen, like, for example, the characters, the dialogue, the tone, it really kind of brings me back to, like, when you're reading like Graveyard Shift or Pet Cemetery, or like like Mr. Mercedes and so on and so forth. Like, it kind of brings me back to those kind of, like, stories, although with a lot more supernatural alien like elements, for sure.
There is one episode, I think there was one episode from the 60s called I Sing the Body Electric, and I think Ray Bradbury, I think he did the story, but I think Rod Serling is the one who created the show. So I think he kind of like he did like the teleplay. I don't know who did it specifically, but So I think it was like kind of like a Ray Bradbury type of thing. One of the books that I've read is Fahrenheit 451. That book's really good. I think it's kind of like fantasy. It's kind of like fantasy vibe, but it also like sticks to the real life, if that makes sense. It's like turning a woman. It's like a real life woman, like who's like a robot, like putting in some pieces, like a hair, or their eyes, or their voice, or the clothing that they wear. So it's like a robot, except disguised as a human.
Yeah, I want to ask you this. Like, for what I've seen, there's a lot of different elements of like style and categories of like when it comes to the Twilight Zone. But of all the episodes you have seen, where basically the Twilight Zone do you think is going more towards, like alien or like supernatural?
Yeah, so I think it probably depends on like what episode that you're watching. I think To Serve Man is kind of in the alien type. Another one, it probably depends on like what episode you watch. Like To Serve Man is alien. Supernatural. Do you mean like ghosts?
Like for example, ghosts or the occult or like black magic, that kind of like supernatural possessions, things like that.
Um, I don't know if it was like really occult. There may be some supernatural, but I can't really say for sure if I have seen the episodes. But there is some stuff where there's like alien type involved in it.
Okay, so basically you're trying to say that it depends on like the story, but also in the same time you kind of think it's like balanced between those two categories.
It probably depends on the story. Yes.
Okay. Now, one of the other things I I have seen basically when I was doing the research, was there also a Twilight Zone movie?
Yeah. So there is. It's not the recent one, but like there is an 80s Twilight Zone movie. I don't think I've ever watched it, so I can't really say for sure. But I think I don't think I've honestly seen it, but I think they have all the elements that they have from the 60s and just like try to make it into a movie. Like I think they did it like by story, but like I said, I really don't know because I haven't seen it. And then after the movie came out, I think the 80s series, I think it's like after the movie came out, I think the 80s series was inspired by that movie.
Interesting. Interesting. Because I've seen like, especially like I've kind of read about like the behind the scenes production thing, and boy, that movie had some really like shady, dark history.
It does have some horror type things, like
The helicopter thing.
Yeah, the helicopter. I think they have like a lawsuit. I don't know if they were arrested for that or they have like a lawsuit. I don't know. I read something about it. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, because some people like, the actors today like are not that quite like supernatural like they were back in the day. But like a lot of people, for what I've seen from the background and everything, a lot of people thought like that this movie was like the overall production itself was like bad luck, or it was like cursed, or like there was, because I've seen a lot of conspiracy theories about this movie that might be even like some like supernatural elements behind it for all the things that happened. I mean,
Yes. So there may be some supernatural stuff involved in that. I might have seen like one of the clips, and I think there was that one part where the guy was trying to do like some sort of magic trick. Usually you would get the rabbit out, and then out comes the rabbit, very scary looking, all as if he's ready to bite a human being just out of nowhere. Just it's like it has like It's a Good Life inspired by it, and it's just like inside that boy, he wants you to think good thoughts, or else out in the cornfield.
Yeah. But I even read like some of the things, like even when they were doing the production of the TV shows, like there was even then was like some like shady elements even behind it. Yeah, I mean, for what I've read. Now I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't know, because like it makes me feel like, should I've done this TV show or not? Because like after everything that happened, I mean, it kind of makes you think that.
I don't know if 80s is like the time for like when horror movies become popular, or maybe it's just like 80s or 90s type of era. So I'm not sure if that might be the case. So I might be wrong. That's just what I was thinking.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think like because again, because like some of the things I've seen, like I would say, like my question to you right now is this: like of all the episodes you've seen,
Mhm.
which one would you categorize as like the episode that really like blew your mind, that really like made you feel with hundreds of questions, that an episode that something happened that came out of nowhere, literally?
I think if I were to choose one, it probably like depends. I would say there is that one episode called The Obsolete Man, because I think that we have some sort of like, and I'm trying my best not to be like too political or anything like that. And you can just whack me if I just do that.
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay. So, basically, he's trying to the counselor, who is played by Fritz Weaver, is trying to have that man like obsolete, like out of the world. Just it's like religion versus state type of thing.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like it's kind of like what we have today. So it's just like if you believe in God, then you're obsolete. So it's just and Wordsworth, who's played Burgess Meredith, who played Wordsworth, he's the same. Burgess Meredith also is the Penguin in the 1966 Batman with Adam West.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would say that this was the episode kind of like that blew you away, basically?
I would say it's just, I'm not sure if it blew us away, but it kind of like keeps us, the things that we watch is kind of like what we have like dealing with the issue today, and we still have that today. So it's like whether you believe in God or not. I'm not sure about the obsolete type of thing, but it's just like, I think it was like the church versus the state versus school. Like you're not allowed to pray before before like the Pledge of Allegiance. Sort of just
I see.
Yeah, so it's like the state versus religion type of thing. So that's something that's going on today.
I'll be right back. I gotta run to the bathroom.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yeah. No. Yeah. So basically, I get you. The basically what I was trying to say is that like story wise, when it comes to like these episodes, I was thinking like with like which was the one that kind of blew you away when it comes to like twists and turns and revelations. Like I said, story wise, I was kind of like targeting what was like one of those episodes kind of blew you away in that way.
I think there is another one, 5 characters in search of an exit, where they don't know, they have no memory of where they are, who they are, what they're doing there. It turns out that they're actually in a container for Christmas. I think it's some sort of like a charity. Basically, they're toys.
Wow.
Toys. And they think they're in hell, but they're actually toys. And the bell ringing, they thought it was some sort of a gong, but it's actually, you know how they usually do like the Salvation Armies?
Yeah.
With the bell ringing. That's
yeah.
what it is.
Okay. So by the way, we have 2 comments coming from Caroline Wilcox. I remember the Tower of Terror that was based on the show, right? The episode I remember the most was the one where the guy was all alone in his town with no understanding as to why.
Yeah, so there is a ride on that. I don't know if it was in Disneyland or if it's in Disney World. I don't know if they took that ride down in 2017, so I'm not sure if they still have it. But yeah, it is based on the Twilight Zone.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I'm surprised that even Disney took an inspiration out of that. Okay. Also, Polly, you're doing awesome.
Thank you, Caroline.
Hmm. I mean, from everything what you just told me, like I mean, I mean, I think like just like TK was trying to persuade me to do Ben 10. Like now, for everything what you just said, it's now making me interested to see the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
From all the stories that you told me.
There's other format. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Sorry. Give me a second. So basically, there are other. I think they have like, besides the radio drama and besides the show, they do have they have comic books of the Twilight Zone. I think they're like vintage, and they also I think they have. I might be wrong, but they might have video games too. And what else is there? Basically, it's nice to see that people are starting to like the Twilight Zone. As the years go on, I feel like it lost that one thing. That one thing. I don't know what the thing is, but I think the 2019 got canceled because of low ratings. So I don't know what it is. It's like it just becomes more modern, and it just lost that. It lost that vibe.
I mean, for what I've seen, I think like I mean, again, I wasn't there, but like I think like my theory is like the Twilight Zone is a project that was like how can I put this? It's a type of project I don't think you can do today. I think like it's a project of its time. I think like at least the way how I'm seeing it, it's like a project of its time, and for what I've seen, like some bits and pieces from the 2000 like version, it looks like they were trying to kind of like modernize the Twilight Zone a little bit, like with like still giving us those like mysteries, twists and turns, but like doing certain like stories, but like how they would have been done today, basically. So I don't know, because like sometimes I know that viewers will blame the modernization of certain things. So I don't know, it might be that might have been the problem. I don't know, but I'm happy for you and everyone to kind of like noticing the Twilight Zone even more, for sure.
Yeah, and I also noticed for the 80s one, they kind of like, I think they did 2 episodes. They remade the episodes. So they did Night of the Meek and the After Hours. And instead of doing it to 25 minutes, this is something we could do, and you can use your editing skills just to see story-wise, and up to down to from 25 to 15 minutes. So it's just, I don't know if they're rushing the pace or if they're just doing it because of time. Because some stories are like 5 minutes or 10 minutes long, when they're usually half hour. So it's just a scenario.
So I want to ask you, like the length of the episodes. Okay, we have one more comment. Sorry. Another one from Caroline. 25 to 15 is a huge change.
Yeah, especially if that
Yeah.
After Hours does have the 15-minute. I don't know.
Yeah. So my question was this. So since everything went from the black and white era, so the black and white, like the original Twilight Zone, what was the length of the episodes?
So 1, 2, 3, and 5 seasons. So no, season 1, 2, 3, and 5 are 25 minutes. So that's like a half hour. And for some reason, season 4 has it up to 52 minutes, which is like an hour. I don't understand if they have a story that's like lengthy or if they're just like dragging the pacing. I actually watched one with a girl who has telepathy. I think that's the right word. It's when they speak with their minds instead of moving their lips to speak. So I feel like the pacing is like slow and the suspense is just like slow getting there. So I think it's okay, but it's just like it's just like taking its time. Like it's like slow.
Yeah, I mean, like from my experience, when it comes to anthology series, like for what I've, for at least for what I understood, like you do have episodes that are like 60 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 8 minutes long. But again, it could be the pacing, but I think like it's also depends on like how long the story is.
Right.
Like
Right.
for example, it depends like if you're writing a short one or if you're writing one that's like 16 minutes or 20 minutes. So like you said, one of the episodes were like 52 minutes. So I guess it depends on the writing. I guess it depends on like how long you wish to extend the story in this case. So because like every episode usually differs from the other one. The biggest example I can give you, like from my experience, like for example, I've recently watched Secret Level from Amazon, which is kind of like an anthology series based on different video games.
Mm.
And then for example, another example I can give you is Star Wars Visions, which is basically different studios telling their own versions of Star Wars, basically. And each of those episodes are like from like 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. So I guess I think it depends on the writing, like how long you're going to tell a story, I guess.
I think I can understand, like, story-wise, like, I get, like, how long the story is. What I don't understand is how come the other seasons are half hour while one of the seasons is an hour. So that's what I don't get. I don't know if it's because of the budget or if it's because it might have been the story, though.
Well, did they have the same showrunner the whole way through the series? I mean, the whole way through the original run?
So Rod Serling passed away, I think. Okay, he's from 1925. So he passed away in 1975. So that's like before the 80s.
Okay.
I think there's that I don't know if this like is that one part of the movie. I think Burgess Meredith kind of took over the narration at that one point, but I'm really not sure. My memory's like vague on that. I remember watching a clip on it though.
Let me ask you, the Twilight Zone is this show like for example, is this show like the kind of like the property of like the guy's family, or like do they have something to say when it comes to like future versions of the Twilight Zone, or is basically a studio property?
It's really hard to say because, like, are you asking if they're going to make a new one or if?
No, I'm trying to figure out, like especially like from the 80s and the 2000s, like what you were asking, like the changing of the length and like some like cutoffs and everything. So because you do, because for example you do have some properties that kind of like belong to the family of the guy or woman who created something. Like for example, you have the Tolkien estate, for the Lord of the Rings. You have the Bram Stoker estate for Dracula. So I was kind of curious, like the guy who created Twilight Zone, like was this like always kind of like his personal property, or was like kind of like hey, I did a thing for the studio and now this belongs to them?
I don't know if that's really. I'm not sure if it's like a project. I mean, it was just like a series that he like created. So it's kind of like that his handprint is there. Like it's still there, even though he's not here physically. But I think they're trying to keep the vibe alive by keeping it mysterious. They have the opening and closing narration. They have to leave audiences thinking and get them to the edge of their seats. So it's kind of keeping them alive, even though as time goes on. I think the 2000s kind of has that. So it's just like kind of depends on like which one.
Yeah, because like from everything what you just said, I feel like one of the reasons because you told me that the one from 2019 was canceled.
Yes,
right?
after 2 seasons.
Okay, so I think like I mean I can, again, it's just my theory, but like I guess like why maybe the Twilight Zone could be a little bit much more weaker today is because like we have so many different shows that kind of have like the same almost kind of vibe like the Twilight Zone does. So I guess maybe the flame became a little bit weaker for the Twilight Zone, since there are many different versions of like like for example what I told you, like the X-Files, which a lot of people have also said it's kind of similar to the Twilight Zone, even though it has like one big story, so but the elements are still like very similar for some people, like even like my friend told me the same thing. Like when we was watching the few of the things of Twilight Zone, like he told me that it reminded me immediately from the X-Files, basically. So I guess maybe one of the reasons could be is that there are all sorts of different shows today that it's all like a competition, basically, which show is going to get the highest ratings, I guess. And in this occasion, maybe the Twilight Zone got the lowest. Again, it's just a guess that I have.
Yeah, and they think that the thing is that like people are used. I'm just getting on side topic there. And when Disney did like the live action remakes, they prefer like the original better. So it's kind of type that thing. And for like Alfred Hitchcock's movie Psycho, they actually redid one from 1998. And there's this point like they refer to like the classic better because the elements that is by and directed by Alfred Hitchcock himself. I know I'm getting a little bit off topic, but just
I get you.
The point that I'm trying to make is that you want to get the elements that involve just to make that horror. You just want to get people at the edge of their seats, just to like.
I get you.
Like just to grab them from behind, and I think Psycho kind of did the sequel. I think the guy who played what's his name?
You talk about the original version or the
original. Norman Bates, I think. Yeah, Norman Bates.
You talk about the guy who was the killer.
The guy who played Norman Bates. So I think the guy who played him reprises the role for 2 and 3. In my opinion, I just feel like I actually like it standalone.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like it's unnecessary to make a sequel. Marianne got killed off, especially with the shower scene. Iconic shower scene. Iconic shower scene. So I just feel like it should be enough. I don't think a sequel is necessary, especially with the birds. Also, I think they did a sequel with the one woman, I forget what her name is, that actually returned for the to play a different character, but it's just.
Well, didn't they reboot Psycho into a TV show?
Yes. So Freddie Highmore.
Yes.
Yeah, Freddie Highmore did play Norman Bates.
Yes.
There was the co-star. So it's kind of like working up. It's like a prequel to Psycho. So I did see some clips from that series. Freddie Highmore did a wonderful job playing the character. So good. And mimicking the character's photo shoots. So I think that's I didn't watch the series fully, but from what I've seen clip-wise, I think Freddie Highmore did a wonderful job. I just think the point I'm trying to get at, I know I'm getting off topic, so
it's okay. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is, while it is nice to have someone doing a new series or a reboot or remake, I don't know the difference. I just feel like the classic always does it better.
Yeah.
The classic always does it better. Whether animated or real life, black and white, color, I just feel like they need some love. They definitely need some love.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, because that is definitely, I think, like one of the reasons why maybe, as you put it, the Twilight Zone from the 2000s is weaker than the previous ones, because like you said, because some of the fans of the original or the classic Twilight Zone basically have this believe that the classic one is better than the modernized version, basically.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the type of mentality, as you put it, again, another perfect example is the Disney thing with animation movies and live action.
Right.
So it's kind of like the same struggle, basically. But Caroline has a question for us. do you think mystery is what makes the show what it is? Paulie?
I think it does. I'm not really sure though. It probably depends. I know I keep saying it depends, but like it keeps it mysterious. It has to keep the vibe going.
I think like here's my kind of like my thought about like the Twilight Zone. I think like if you wanna like if anyone wants to be a writer, I think like the Twilight Zone is the perfect show to give them inspirations to become a writer, because basically at the end of each episode, you can easily start writing like what do you expect the sequel to that story would be, basically, to kind of keep you going into like becoming a writer. Because that's usually what when you have anthology series, that's usually at least like what me and my friends would do. We will always tell stories like what could have happened next.
Okay, I have a question. So do you think the episode structure, how it was, how they were like one-off episodes, do you think that drew people in at all?
Do you think that what?
Do you think that drew people in at all to it? The fact that they were like one-off episodes and like you didn't have to watch them in like an order or anything?
Yeah, I mean, like unless you're watching Stranger Things, then that would have been like an order thing. So it's not like continuing after like what's after that cliffhanger from that episode. So it's basically different scenarios. Just about the diner, about obsolete, about getting a telephone call from your dead grandma. And yes, there is an episode on that.
That would be seriously screwed up if you get a phone call like that. Gee. Also, Caroline, can I confirm what I just said? That is an awesome prompt to write after an episode. Maybe the show was made to keep you thinking after seeing it or discussing it with others.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, definitely. Especially when you're comparing fantasy to reality, and they are keeping it real, but they do have some vibes that make it look like fantasy, like something that's not real. So yeah, that's definitely very good for discussions. I don't know if teachers have that though, but that would have been good discussions. I think that would have been good for like teachers to have students discuss about the Twilight Zone and what we're dealing with today. It's just to keep them thinking. I think it's maybe some good for some critical thinking. I'm not sure if it does, but just to keep their brains working.
Also,
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I do have. I don't know if you could see or not. This is Rod Serling, also known as the Funko. Yeah. So I actually got that Funko Pop while I was at the mall the other night, and I got so excited. I just wanted to get it.
Also, Caroline mentioned just briefly, Black Mirror reminds me of the Twilight Zone.
I don't think I've watched a Black Mirror though.
Trust me, Caroline also said this basically, like, has anybody here seen it? It's so disturbing. Oh. Yes, Caroline, it is very disturbing. So
no! Oh no! There is another. Sorry, go to.
No, I was gonna say, if any of you two have not seen Black Mirror, all I will say is brace yourselves.
Ooh,
because there's a lot of disturbing elements in there.
I haven't seen Black Mirror. You want disturbing? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Winnie
the...
Stop! Oh my God!
Stop.
No!
Oh,
it gets worse.
No!
That's literally...
Stop talking. Stop
TK,
talking.
That's literally childhood and dream killer.
I'm gonna sing Wicked songs if you don't stop.
Yes, it is. Okay, I'll be good.
Just shh.
Yes, I'll be good.
Won't say the name 3 times.
No, I'll be good.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. That's how it feels when we TK are alone. We usually have these kind of crazy conversations.
Oh. Yeah, there's another sequel. Well, not sequel, but I mean, there is a series that is by Rod Serling, but I was really hope I can watch this series. It's called Night Gallery. It does have some vibes. It's kind of like, it's similar to the Twilight Zone, but it's like different in some ways.
Interesting.
I think there was another series not by Rod Serling called The Outer Limits, similar to the Twilight Zone, but it's okay. I know they have like a 60s or a 90s version of that. I watched like 1 or 2 episodes. So I would say it's not bad. I think the Twilight Zone kind of did it good. There was like narration in that too, but I think there was like one or the other. But
I had to show this comment, by the way, because she said, Caroline says, I was in an English class, I think in early high school, where we covered the screenplay of the Twilight Zone episode. It was when a neighborhood was trying to figure out who was the alien.
Ah, yes. Yes. Nightmare. Wait, what was it called again? I forget. Yes, I know what she's talking about. Oh, the monsters are due on Maple Street. That's the episode that she's referring to. The monsters are due on Maple Street. I think there's some paranoia involved, suspicion. There is a lot of strangling each other's throats involved. So, yeah. I think the 2003 did that one, but it might have been going into a different direction. So,
Was that episode from the classic or like later on?
So monsters are due on Maple Street. That's the classic one. That's where it's originally from. I don't know if the 2000s did that, or it might have did, but it's going a different direction. So I'm not quite sure if they redid that. I think they did. I'm not sure.
Because of the description you gave me, I was like, was that episode kind of like a precursor to the Body Snatchers? Because that reminds me a little bit of that.
Kind of like, it's like everything's going on at once. The power's off, electricity's going out. It's like, okay, who did this? Let's pointing fingers. It's just.
Oh my god, it kind of reminds me of like of those days when we were children, and like there was like a weird guy or a woman who was like either your neighbor or living across your town, and you're thinking like, oh, is she or he a killer? What they're hiding in the cellar? Was she or he an alien? Like that, literally what you told me, that remind me of that like particular part of my past, because like there were some people who at the end were like nice people, but when you're a child, you think crazy, you have a crazy imagination. Mm-hmm. And that's literally what you told me about this episode. It reminds me of that.
Yeah, so there is, I think, as people are like running around just like trying to like blame someone or just like or whatever, there's these two guys that are like supposed to represent aliens. They're not really, they're humans, but they're like from another planet. They're the ones controlling the electricity. That's the twist there. The radio version actually makes their voice robotic. I think their voices was normal in the classics. The radio, it did it very alien-like, not robotic, but it's very alien-like. So it's kind of like destroying like one generation to another. It's just like, let's see who's gonna blame who, and just knock them unconscious. Well, not unconscious. That sounds a little dark. But anyway, that's what Caroline just mentioned right there. That's great. We need to have discussions like that, especially when it comes to high school. It may be an entertainment series, but it's just keeping people thinking. So that's awesome. That's awesome how the screenplay of that show kind of keeps people thinking. It's like, okay, this is paranoia. This is kind of like suspicion type of thing. So we kind of have that feeling. So we kind of have paranoia types of emotions of what we have today.
Well, like it kind of reminds me of a story of like one of my friends I knew since high school. He basically he's a fan of like science fiction in general and horror like stories. So he also one day he watched the Twilight Zone while we were in high school, and I remember like he watched like a mixture of like the classic and like the one from the 80s, and for like 2 weeks he was paranoid.
Really?
Oh, yes, he was paranoid all over the place, from like aliens to supernatural to like someone keeping secrets away from him, like the way how people will look at him. Like he was paranoid, and literally, like I will never forget it. Like like every day, we were trying to calm him down and say like hey, everything is fine. This is just fiction. Like like it's
Right.
none of this is real. And he was like, that's what an alien would say. Or like one day, or like one day, like he told one of my other colleagues, like what was the thing he said? Oh yeah. Like it was like something to do with like a phone call, and like you remind me when he said the dead grandma thing. Can remind me of that. He was kind of afraid that his uncle would call him, and the uncle like was passed away for like a few years.
Oh my
And
God.
then one time he was paranoid because the way how people were looking at him, like because like he would literally start saying like they're looking at me, they're following me every move.
It's like
Oh my-
eyes everywhere.
yes, eyes everywhere, literally. Like it was crazy. Like we were so irritated the way how he was thinking, and like literally, I'll never forget. Like one of our friends literally grabbed him and slapped him like 7-8 times.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not I'm not kidding. In front of everybody.
That many slaps.
Yeah, I literally
God.
1, 2, 3, 4, like 7 or 8 times I counted. And, and literally, and the last thing he said after like his face being red like a pepper, he said, "Thank you. I needed that."
If you can believe it, there are a lot of people who want to do that to me for a lot of reasons.
Oh.
I wonder why. Yeah, but basically the paranoia thing that like it literally remind me of this crazy story. Like oh my god, like literally he thought of all of us like being from aliens to monsters to like some the occult thing. Like I remember like he thought of me as like I remember like one time he thought of me as like an alien who this is gonna be like a dark joke on me, but he thought of me like as this like one of those aliens who eats children
Oh my gosh.
because of my weight.
Terrible. Oh.
That's
That's too far.
And I was like, and literally, look, I was like, and I remember I remember that I told him that seriously. I was like, you could have said I eat like candy or whatever. You chose children.
Yeah, that's sad. That is
Yeah,
so
but like
sad.
it was. Yeah, but look, he's fine now, and there was like a phase for him, basically, because he was so drawn into the Twilight Zone so much that it made him give crazy thoughts, basically.
For anybody watching, don't worry. After that happened, Alan went right home and let all the children go.
I'm gonna want you for that.
If I were there, if
I'm
I was there, I would have done the same as well.
I can't believe you just said that. Oh my god.
By the way, my followers, TK is also a pathological liar. Don't believe anything he says. Bloody hell. Lol. Good on you, Laura. Good on you, Laura Shadows. Don't imprison the kids. Oh my god. I cannot believe this. Well, thank you very much, TK. Thank you. You bastard. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just hope no one will be after my ass after that. Oh, geez.
This is what I have to deal with every day. Well, not every day, but like when I see him. Some points.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also known for having a dark sense of humor, but trust me, even I have limits. Oh boy. Oh boy. Speaking of which, I want to ask you: were there any Twilight Zone stories that involved school?
Um, I think the I cannot say that word. Telepathy at that one episode, our episode I just watched. I think that might have involved school.
Oh no.
I don't know. Wait, don't worry, Polly. We have a TK support group. /.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Now look what you've done, TK. Now look what you've done. Like like, oh my god. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what I had to deal with every time we do a Shadow Council. Every time.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one. Yeah, so I don't think I've seen too much episodes that involve school. Maybe on one, maybe the episode with the telepathy one. But other than that, I don't think I've seen too much. Maybe neighborhood wise, I could see that. I think people are just like making her say who she is rather than using her mind, because she can't talk. She can speak with her mind. It's just, yeah, I couldn't see any episodes that involve school.
Okay. Now my next question.
Maybe boxing or maybe boxing involved. I think there was 2 episodes on that. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So my next question to you is, now, were there ever a Twilight episode that you wished that it continued a certain story?
That is a very good question. I'm not sure. I think this is a small thing, but if there is an episode that I wish to continue, but then again, it wouldn't even matter. I think it was like the end of Long Distance Call, when the boy is finally breathing after he drowned. I wish I could just like see him like physically. Just physically like that. Another one, Bewitching Pool. I wish they could continue that. I think the parents, they're like at a divorce, and then the 2 kids went into the pool just to a different world. Then again, I don't think they need to be continued. I think it's just like left said. It's probably oh, will the real Martian please stand up? I am curious to see where that's gonna go. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, Alan, I think that's where we want to go. So, okay, we learned that these 2 people are aliens. Now what? Are they going to destroy their army? Or are they going to destroy Earth itself? Maybe capture them and take it into a spaceship. So maybe that could be another story that I wish would continue.
Okay, because I was really kind of curious what you're going to say, because that exactly what you just said is literally what one of my friends would call the curse of the anthology series. Like you have one story and you wish to see what's next.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's always like that. Now my next question to you is:
you said they're aliens, right? And
so the twist is, so they are people. So the customer has 3 arms. Yes, there are 3 arms, and the diner worker has a 3rd eye on his forehead. So they may be using their alien powers just to get the music working from the jukebox, just to get the lights flickering back and forth. And basically, you just want to see what's next.
Well, it's clear what they're aliens, so it's clear what they're going to do. They're going to eat the children.
Oh,
no! Stop! That TK, that's terrible. You're going to traumatize people. My God.
Okay.
That's terrible.
Okay, you heard him, guys. Now, like, take on your torches and go after TK this time. Leave me alone and go after him. Jeez.
can't believe this. Oh my gosh.
I want to ask you this question. Like, so, like this basically, like I told you, like me and my friends, we usually do this kind of stuff. So I want to ask you this. Do you think a Twilight Zone episode, do you think it would work if, like, for example, one of the main twists or mysteries or like horror elements, like, for example, they would use like mythological creatures, like, for example, let's just say like mermaids or the Kraken or Lady from the Lake or like what else I can say, or like the or like something similar to the Loch Ness monster, basically. Like, do you think an episode like that? Do you think it would work as a Twilight Zone episode?
It could work, but it has to have a purpose. What role it's playing in the story. So why would you have a random mermaid, but it doesn't do anything? Like, it has to have like some sort of like a purpose. To make a story like Rod Serling, you really got to make them think. And it's really, really hard to make them think. Especially if it's like Rod Serling, because it's like taking these elements of a story, bringing the characters, and then to creating the stories to have a purpose. You want to know like the purpose. What is it trying to tell the audience? What do you want them to think? That's kind of like what
okay, like what if, for example, let's just say the main characters are like, let's just say sailors at sea, for example. And what if like it's the story basically, for example, speaking of mermaids, like, for example, also kind of connecting like old tales from like the Greek mythology and like, the seven seas, basically. What if like, the story is like they're basically questioning like if it's like in their mind or real, and basically kind of draws them mad that in a way that like that, how can I put this, that basically they either go at each other, but they're kind of like all the, I don't know how to describe this, but like basically it's kind of like basically mind playing tricks on you. Kind of like I don't know how to put this, because like if I had my friend like he right here, like he will explain in a more bigger detail, but he had actually had like a pretty good idea of like how he could have introduced these things in the Twilight Zone, because like you said, he needs to have a purpose, and he needs to make you think and everything. So I mean, again, it was just a question, like, what kind of like from like creatures or beings could play a part in the Twilight Zone. That basically was my question.
Yeah, so that's probably like I said, it has to have like a purpose. You have to create all these elements together, make it into the story, and then like saying, how does it relate to the audience? What do you want them to think? How can they form their own opinions? So it's just like, I think you have to like tell a story in a very particular way. You want the audience to think that this certain thing happened, but something different happens at the end. So it just you need to throw the audience off.
Yeah. Okay. So have you ever watched The Lighthouse?
The Lighthouse. I don't
with
think
Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
I don't think I have. No.
Because like that's because like my idea for a mermaid. If you watch the movie, that would have been my kind of like example, like what I was going with this, basically, because the story was about like these two guys who were like in the lighthouse, kind of like in their shifts and everything, and they're like in a closed room together, and basically day after day they kind of grow mad, basically, until at the end they kind of like kill each other, and also has like some like supernatural elements involved as well.
Yeah, I see.
Again,
like there's paranoia and there's like insanity.
Exactly. Paranoia, hallucinations, all sorts of stuff. So that's why. So that was kind of like my example of like maybe if it's like like a mind playing tricks, or like closed spaces, or like hallucinations, that kind of thing. Again, there's just ideas I'm shooting at you too, because like again, I don't know that much the Twilight Zone like you do, so some of them might work, some of them might not. TK, don't be a silent lamb here. Like, say something.
Don't be a silent lamb.
Okay. This is actually a half serious question, but would who work in the Twilight Zone?
Oh my god, no! Don't you dare!
But
Don't.
But would he be the kind of character who would work though?
Just an FY. Well, I mean, it could, but it would be like too much. Like, we don't want to like ruin their style. So this is like a Tim Burton type of
thing
you're talking about, in a Rod Serling creation type of series.
So, out of curiosity, which character are you talking about?
Beetlejuice.
Why?
Okay, so with everything what Paulie just said, no, I honestly I wouldn't see him in the Twilight Zone.
I agree, 100% agree, because we don't want to mess up like the writer's style. So this is like the 60s talking about, even though it's in the 80s, like even though it's like in 80s where they're both at, we don't want to like mix Tim Burton's character with Rod Serling's series, if you know what I mean. Like, we don't want to mix their styles and mess it up or anything like that, because this is like a sci-fi series, and here you're talking about like a Halloween type character, and we don't want to mess that up.
Okay, what about the worm thingy though?
Oogie Boogie? No,
not Oogie Boogie. The worm thing in Beetlejuice, the giant worm thing that looks like Beetlejuice.
Oh, you mean sandworms?
Yes.
Yeah, but what purpose? Like, why would it be in the Twilight Zone? What is it? What purpose would it have? Like, to these people?
Okay, what if like the story was like in a desert?
Yeah, so it could possibly be in the desert. There is the lonely episode where he's stuck. I think it's a different planet where he's like, I don't know if he's like abandoned or if it's like, I don't know. So there could be a possibility of a desert episode.
By the way, Janice Willis says, "Yo."
Hi, Janice.
Hello there, Janice. Welcome to the Crazy Shadow Council discussion. We're gonna have we basically offer loads of dark jokes and disturbing things. Yeah, and of course, the main host of the event, of course, is none other than TK. But I have a question. One more question. Since mythologies and folklore is like kind of like one of my favorite things, could you use, for example, in the Twilight Zone, like beings, like for example, vampires?
Come to think of it, I don't know. I don't think I've seen vampires in there. I would say maybe, but I'm not sure. It would be more of like a Halloween Twilight Zone episode. So it's really hard to categorize in it. But then again, this is like a fantasy type of series.
Janice says, "Hi guys, I hope you guys are having a good time. I am. Good for you. For us, so." No, I'm just kidding. We're having a great time.
Okay.
We do.
I was a little worried there.
No, I was just doing so just to see TK's face.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't worry, Janice. We're having a great time. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So, but how about ghosts?
I haven't seen ghosts in there, but if it's like a spirit of a person that like mysteriously appears and disappears, but what purpose would it have? I would see them. I would see the vampire or a ghost in there because it kind of has like a supernatural type of thing. But like, what's the purpose is it going to be like for the story? So it's like really hard. Like I want them to be in it, but it's really hard to like what this.
Yeah, I get you, because like the reason why I'm asking you this question is because like I'm trying to, because through your answers I'm kind of imagining what like the Twilight Zone is basically, and what kind of like ideas basically there are behind it, because like that's one of the reasons why I'm asking you like which type of like folklore and mythological beings / monsters could be in it and which one don't, basically. Because even though that there's a lot of like alien references or elements in the Twilight Zone, because like I did notice there are some like supernatural, elements as well.
Yeah, so I think there is like one of them is there's like a gremlin in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet with William Shatner in it. So I think there's like an episode where there's like people who are going to think he's crazy. Again, there's paranoia involved, where he sees something that's there, but the other people don't believe him. It's just like he's there randomly. So that's the purpose that it has. Like it's on there just eating the plane, just to rip it to shreds.
Oh, I see. What about like, for example, like different cults? Like I don't know, like from like different like cults that have do like rituals and things like that. What about that?
There may be some episodes, and I might be wrong, that might maybe not in like religiously and type of thing, but I think there might be episodes in which there might have some been like a cult or something. I honestly don't know for sure if they have it, because they might have something to do like with that particular thing, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure about cults though. They might have like groups of people, but I'm not sure if I would like consider them like a cult. There may be some like rituals thing involved, but we don't want to like make it too like controversial. One of the episodes that was actually banned on CBS Access or Paramount Plus, it was now called The Encounter. I think it was just dealing with some political stuff.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, I didn't know particularly what political stuff they're talking about. So
yeah, but there's still like some footage actually out there you can see.
I don't think
about like this certain episode.
I don't think I've seen The Encounter. So I did hear that they actually banned that episode, so I think there are some elements that may touch base on fantasy or maybe ritual stuff, and maybe something political that we might be dealing with today.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking about cults, I was kind of like talking like, again, I was going like a pure on fantasy, like for example, like the cult of like Cthulhu, basically, like for example, like Lovecraft was doing his own like books. I was kind of talking like about those kind of cults, basically.
I don't think I've seen too much cults, to be honest. I don't know about rituals either, because it's really hard to say which one. There are some episodes that may take you back in time. Instead of like going modern, they can go back to the 1800s when a certain thing happens.
Would our friend who is big and red fit into the Twilight Zone?
No.
Thank you.
Him, 100% no.
Darn it.
Oh my God. It was just a matter of time when he was going to mention him.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry.
Mephisto.
No. This is Marvel territory now.
Oh.
Gee, like, I mean, even today, I really don't know what the hell made you fall in love with the character.
I have no idea either.
I'm really curious to find out, but then again, I don't want to.
It's partially so. Don't give me any hate mail for anyone watching this. Don't give me any hate mail. But it's partially. I am kind of obsessed with the character, but I'm partially obsessed with him because in the WandaVision season 1 finale, fans were running away with speculation, saying this was going to happen, that was going to happen. So part of it is I'm kind of like trolling. It's kind of me poking a little bit of fun at that, but I'm also kind of obsessed because I'm kind of curious what all the fans were like excited about with him or like wanting to see.
So now we have our mysteries all resolved. Yeah, I mean, I thought like he's gonna be like, oh, I know him from like the comic books, like this particular issues or this particular like volumes or whatever. Like, no. So basically, you love him just because like from like some different theories that were going around on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow, now I've seen everything. Bloody hell! Oh my god! Oh my god! Now, here's a tough one. Maybe tough one. But if, for example, they try to reawaken, they try to bring back the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, they hire you as a writer for like one episode. My question here is, and I'm really curious what you're gonna answer. What will be your Twilight Zone episode? Like your idea.
This one's more of a modern one, and I'm not sure if it's going to work or if they're going to take or reject the idea. What if I've been reading fan fiction guiltily? What if
Doesn't.
the fan fiction? So his fan fiction is basically it's based like a fan fiction of a show. So like it's a fan fiction of a Star Wars, like based on a TV series, a movie, a book. It's basically like people like writing imaginary stories for that particular show. So I'm thinking, and they might reject the idea, what if the stories that we write come true?
Oh.
So
it's kind of like a fantasy versus reality.
Yeah, so fantasy versus reality type of thing. So for example, I don't know. A girl asks a guy out, a guy rejects the girl. The girl wishes to I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to come up with something. So it's like you wished there's this girl that wants to meet this guy someday that is really handsome, but then he just came out of nowhere and just knocks at the door. Flowers and bouquet. So I don't know. I honestly don't know where I'm going with this. It has to have some sort of like particular purpose. And then all of a sudden it comes out of control and we need something to like bring it back to normal, or what twist it would have.
Okay. I mean, I get you. But I will say this, I really like the concept out of it, so, for me personally, being an optimistic guy, I believe actually they'll be interested in your story.
The only thing is, it has to have some sort of like an element. Would it be like horror, or would it be? It would be more like a fantasy type of thing. I'm not sure. It has to have some sort of like a direction. I have to give it more direction based on that story. So, similar to the most unusual camera, you take a picture. There's a vintage camera. You take a picture, and instead of showing the same picture, it shows like what's going to happen in the future. So, for example, a lady stands by the window, and then you get the photo. You see a lady wearing a fur coat, a faux fur coat, and then out of nowhere, there's a box. You open it up. There's the fur coat. She wears it, stands by the window, matches the picture.
That would definitely make you think.
That would make you think.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's see. Now let's talk about the beast in the middle. What about you, TK?
The beast in the middle.
Yep.
Oh.
Will be your perfect Twilight Zone idea?
That's a good question. I need to think about that.
Now remember, you have the Iron Judge close to you.
Yes. Let me think. Okay. Do the Twilight Zone episodes, do they ever feature like aging or de-aging?
Aging or de-aging? I'm not sure if they do. I don't think they. That would really scare me.
In that case, maybe I'm trying to think something along those lines. I don't know. Maybe something with aging and de-aging. I'm trying to think how you do that. Though. Like, what would be? Oh boy, I need to think about how you do that though.
Come on, I know you can do it.
Aging, de-aging. I don't even know if it would work.
Just say the first thing comes to your mind.
I don't know if it would work for the Twilight Zone though. The whole aging and de-aging, but like almost like have something happen like in reverse. Like I don't know, almost have something happen like in reverse. Like a reverse episode. I don't know how that would work though.
You mean like someone's life in reverse?
Kinda, yeah.
You mean like that movie with DiCaprio?
Actually, no, I was thinking of I was thinking of Seinfeld.
Oh,
I was thinking of that reverse episode.
Okay. So what do you think? Could the reverse aging work in the Twilight Zone?
I think it could possibly work. I don't think I've seen any episodes that has that. What would it do though? Is there like a potion? Maybe like there's a potion that makes people like, maybe it's like a drinkable potion that's like aging and de-aging.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
Okay. I think like
Thank God I'm not the only one.
It have to be definitely in my episode. There'd have to be.
Oh
now,
boy!
You're going to say the name 3 times.
No.
Because legally, I don't know if legally they could use that character because we don't want to like steal the character based on that.
But you know, somewhere in my episode there'd have to be aliens that eat children.
Oh my God!
Just no. You can story, but that is not no.
Oh my God!
Please don't tell this to your kids one day. Please don't. If you have, please don't.
Paulie, I think you're just encouraging him like that.
Just don't.
Oh,
why? I can't believe you would come up such hideous like that. Jeez.
I mean, I think like my idea for a Twilight Zone episode, I think it will go in those like mystery, paranoia, conspiracy department, basically, where, and again, this is just out of the blue, but basically you have a guy who works in a supermarket and he is he's stalked basically by this mysterious man who just this is how I basically pictured him. Like, so his face is pale, not like an albino pale, but like, pale, almost like the cheek of the dead, basically. Right. Pale. Yeah. So he's pale. His lips are like a little bit blackish, and he has like eyes that are like wide open, and he's always smiling. Like, we're talking like a very creepy smile.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yeah,
yeah, we're
would
talking like a very creepy smile, and he has like eyes wide open, and around him like he has like what's it called, like around the bags and everything. Like he has like a black, basically, like a black circles, like above his bag, eye bags, basically. And he has this like suit that is like, and a hat that is like, kind of like like I would say, kind of like it's a mixture of like a secret agent to like an undertaker. That is like, and again, I'm a guy who loves purple, so I would say it's like his clothes are like, deep, like dark purple,
oh,
basically.
that's good.
And every time, like he's watching him, he go like he like he's watching him from afar. Over almost every time, like his hands are like in his pockets. And when he goes near him, like he just simply smiles at him and asks him like very weird questions. And basically, again, one ideas I have right now in my head is like one time, the guy just simply takes a photo of the guy, from out the window, and in the photo, you see the same clothes, same everything, but the face is like deformed, like for example, like the mouth is all wide open, like in the picture screen, like in the painting screen, wide open, eyes are totally black, and it's like almost like the head is like the shape of a skull, basically, almost. And basically, like he is following him everywhere, and he will call him on the phone, and like you will either hear the breathing, or sometimes he will again ask very weird questions, like even like in a creepy way, like hello, how are you, good day, is it, like something like that, basically. And he's like running, and basically in the story, the way that I have right now in my head, he's like running all over the world, not simply like town to town, but like in different countries. And every time, wherever he goes, is basically he's there everywhere he goes. Like well, for example, you have him in Egypt, he's there. He goes in Turkey, he's there. He goes in England, he's there. Like every time. And he's like getting paranoid and scared, and like I remember like one of my ideas I have right now, like he's at one point screaming, like what do you want from me? Leave me alone! Like and basically everyone around him tries to calm him down and say like God, hey man, you're scaring us. Like there's no one out there. Like there's no one following you. Like calm down, everything will be fine. But he's going like he's out there, he's out there, he's out there. And then basically the twist in the end would be like he basically is behind his back, he puts his hand, which is basically in a glove, black glove, puts his hand on his shoulder, he turns around, the screen goes off, and the only thing you hear is it's time to go. That's it. So that's the idea I have in my head right now.
That's real good. I like that one.
Thank you.
It's scary. It's scary. It's scary, but that is the whole point. You want to get audience at the edge of their seats. But that's really good. I like that one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's literally what I came into my mind like this few seconds. Because like I'm the villain life, and I like to create my own villains. And one of the things I always do, I create creepy villains. And so this is kind of like my forte, basically, And so I'm glad for like a Twilight Zone expert. I'm glad you liked it. Man,
I'm gonna be good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're gonna be good.
I'm gonna be good.
You were gonna say something about the children, were you?
Yes.
No.
I'm gonna be good.
Okay.
You promise?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't see a ring above your head, but like
He's not gonna keep his promise.
Oh my God.
That reaction we were talking about a minute ago, he's out there. My dad has that same reaction when I pull in the driveway. He gets all panicked and he's like, he's out there. No, he's out there.
Oh, you mean he's trying to get away from you?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I wonder why. Oh my God! At least, like, I'm like, if people, like, my parents would try to go or like run away from me because I talk. But but at least that's what at least I do. I just talk. You, like, you basically with your dark sense of humor, it's just literally like, like basically like a knife in the heart.
Yeah.
Man. I do have to congratulate you, Paulie, for being with him every day. To handle him the way you do. I mean, you deserve a medal. Seriously.
Thank you. I tried my best. I honestly did. He'd drive me nuts. I think he just learned something from my brother. But other than that, he's good. He's good. I try to keep him in line, but he's good.
Now, here's a question I have for both of you. So in your personal opinion, which TV shows, movies, even books, do you think could have a place in the Twilight Zone?
I think there's some references. I think I remember the one episode, maybe some episodes, where The Simpsons actually did some references of the Twilight Zone. Maybe that one episode of Johnny Bravo did that reference to It's a Good Life.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if the Simpsons, they're maybe not the Twilight Zone. I think they did a Treehouse of Horror thing where it's kind of like horror, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It probably depends. Yeah, so yeah, The Simpsons actually did some references on the Twilight Zone. Just some episodes.
Okay. TK? I don't know if Don Quixote would fit in there at all, or somebody like him. I don't know if anything from Aragon would fit in there. Maybe it would depend. I don't know.
You went way off.
I think I was close.
Twilight Zone.
I think I was closer with Don Quixote. I think I was closer with him, but I wouldn't put, like, when I say Don Quixote, I mean a character like him. I don't mean like him. I mean like somebody like him.
I mean, this is definitely like, okay, I mean, the Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, this is basically a story about a guy who was obsessed with stories about the knights.
Yeah.
Who basically, his mind, basically, instead of having the balance between fantasy and reality, he went way off into fantasy. And everything around him, he was starting to imagine things. So, I mean, the elements of his character, I guess. I mean, I could see them. I mean, what about you, Paulie? What do you think? Like someone like Don Quixote, basically.
I honestly don't know who that is. I don't know. I don't know if you're trying to say Donkey Yoda.
No, Donkey.
Wait, you're telling me that Donkey Yoda is like Donkey from Shrek.
No. I like that. I like that a lot.
No.
Don Quixote. So he is I'm going to put this in really simple terms. He is a senior citizen who his brain is essentially mush, and he believes he's a knight, and he recruits his lovable but somewhat dumb neighbor, Sancho Panza, and they go and they fight windmills that he thinks are giants. I mean, he's pretty much gone. He thinks he's like a knight errant, trying to get the hand of his princess Dulcinea, who he's basically stalking and has no idea that he exists, and isn't even really a princess, I don't think. And I mean, I kind of feel like that kind of character who kind of like crazy like that and like kind of blurs the lines He might work in the Twilight Zone. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it would be like the right character though.
I mean, it wouldn't be like Knights or anything, but I mean, like the idea of like him sort of
like he could think of something else.
like he himself kind of like blurs the line though between reality and like just like what he's doing, like a character whose like actions, like what they're doing in themselves blur the line.
I mean, that's true.
By the way, TK, I just want to stop you briefly because our good old friend FRC sends us a comment. Only jumping on briefly to send my love and support. I will watch the stream tomorrow all the way through. Thank you, FRC. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you, FRC.
Yeah. And by the way, FRC, congratulations on your anniversary. Okay, so continue.
I thought you started.
I forget where we were.
So basically, this is the last thing you said.
Oh yeah. Blurring fantasy and reality. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that would work or not. I mean, that could work. I think I'm definitely closer with him than I'm closer with Aragon.
Okay. For me, I have two Stephen King's stories. I think they could work in the Twilight Zone, The Shining and Doctor Sleep.
No, wait. Which version of The Shining? The movie version or the book version?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Movie version.
Okay.
What do you think, Polly?
I think possibly The Shining. I think that the only part I knew is like saying "Here's Johnny," but that's the only part that I knew. But I don't think I've actually watched a whole movie. But it does have some horror, insanity, psycho type of thing. So maybe there's psychological thriller involved in that. So it could be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, basically, The Shining. I don't want to go into direct spoilers, but basically, The Shining is you have this guy who was hired by like certain people to basically guard a certain hotel that has been like for generations there, and for like in a certain amount of months, in a certain amount of months before the owners come back, and basically. During that time, him and his family, wife and kid will go there, and basically they would have stayed there in the hotel, until the last day of the contract. And basically, while they were staying in the hotel, certain supernatural elements happen that basically, day after day, Jack Nicholson's character goes crazier and crazier. Like he starts hearing voices from certain people appearing, and even the child sees you remember TK the iconic twins, come and play with us, they're starting to all three of them basically they're starting seeing some crazy things happening, and then later on Jack Nicholson's character basically he goes completely nuts, in which this apparitions basically they tell him to basically kill his family in a way, and then basically that's where all the crazy things start to happen, and then basically again, I don't want to spoil the ending, but basically the way how it ends is the last thing you see is an old picture, which was in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
it was in the early 1900s, and you see Jack Nicholson's character right there, but the guy wasn't even born then. There are all sorts of elements here that I think that they could go to the Twilight Zone.
I think it's a possibility, especially when it's voices in his head and it just starts to get paranoia and psychological thriller type of stuff in there. So I could see it as a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like I said, the family is locked up in this hotel where a lot of crazy things happened in the past, and basically they start to see things, hearing things, and that draws Jack Nicholson's character berserk, basically.
It would have to be the movie. It would definitely have to be the movie version, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the book version is way different.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So I've read the book, The Shining, and I've also watched the movie, The Shining, and I heard there was a TV show that was actually more faithful to the book. but I kind of want to watch that. I don't think that or the book would. I mean, I don't know the Twilight Zone as well, but I don't think that or the book would really fit with the Twilight Zone as well. I mean, but I say that because I like the movie, but I really preferred the book to the movie.
I mean, okay, I will tell you this. Like, even I read the book, so I kind of see where you're going with this because, like, The Shining, the movie. I mean, I figured they made the story a bit more simple.
Yeah, well, they made it more psychological, I think.
Yes.
The book, and I think the TV show too, which I still want to find that. It has to be streaming somewhere, but the TV show, the book was a lot more. It trended more supernatural. It trended more possession. And I don't know. I kind of dug that a little more. But I don't. I think that. Again, not knowing the Twilight Zone as well, I think it would definitely have to be the movie. I think the psychological stuff would fit way better with the Twilight Zone than like the possession stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I probably agree with you and Paulie that the psychological stuff would be much better, would fit better, would be more in line, I think. I don't know if you could Polly, could you do possession in the Twilight Zone? Have they ever done any like possession?
I don't think they have, especially like if there's like we have to like remember the audience though. Like if it's like for the family though, we have to like keep in mind of like we don't want to like make it too far is what I'm getting at. We don't want to make it too controversial, especially with Ouija. Because this isn't like a horror movie, even though there are some horror elements in there, but we don't want to make it like too much.
Yeah,
like,
but
enough.
Yeah, but for what I've seen from like the 2000 versions and the 80s version, in those like two versions, like actually, like there were a lot of moments where they went like pretty dark and scarier. Like for example, the original did. Like
I think he did it kind of like very scary one.
Like, I mean, like
the darker elements on there.
Yeah, I mean, like the biggest example, the one I remember the most is the episode of Grandma. Like that show, like that episode, as far as I remember, like watching it, and I still always wondered, like, because they show that episode. I was watching it on Italian channels, and they were showing it somewhere like around 10 in the morning. I don't know why. Don't ask me, but like they were showing it somewhere around 10 in the morning, and and there was a lot of like dark and like scary shit in there, like that is not for everybody, especially like the very last thing where you see the grandma like literally grabbing the kid, and trying to possess him, like. That is some dark stuff.
Yeah, and near the end, like when he's hugging his mom, his eyes are yellow.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so there is some possess. I forgot.
No, wait. So you're telling me your grandma never hugged you and tried to possess you? Was that just me then?
No. This is grandma. Gramma.
Yeah, but
this is Stephen King.
But you're still telling me that your grandma never tried to hug and possess you?
You need to let this.
Was that just me?
No.
Was that just
me? Oh my god.
So only my grandma.
TK, just. But yeah, there is some possession for that grandma episode.
Yeah. So basically, I do agree because like from the clips I've seen from the classic ones, definitely, they were like more lighter and more going like towards the mystery thing and like twists and turns and revelations. But as the decades go pass by, it looks like they went more and more towards the horror elements than what the classic one did, because that's why I'm saying like that's why I was comparing the classic one with Goosebumps from Stein, because like it was all about frights, twists and turns and mystery, making you think, and so basically that's why I was saying way at the beginning that like with the way how they were doing the modernized version of Twilight Zone is that they were trying going towards more the horror stuff, because like at the same time the audience kind of like started to, let's just say, be more acceptable this like the horror genre and like the supernatural elements as well. So I think like so definitely I think like the 2000 versions and the 80s version definitely went more into the horror elements than like the classic one did. For sure.
Yeah, I think the classic one, I think they redid that episode for the 2019 version. So instead of Nightmare at 20,000 feet, we call it Nightmare at 30,000 feet. So like I said, I haven't seen the episode or I haven't watched a series of that 2019, but I think I can understand how making everything horror, it kind of like develops. And I feel like the 80s and 90s kind of like started that. So I can like understand how it became like more popular.
Yeah, because like also because those were even the days that I will say those were even the decades where like because like already like from the 70s, more precisely like mid to late 70s, that's where basically the horror elements started to kind of like getting more evolved, let's put it that way, like with like slasher movies to like more violence and more like crazy stuff like happening with like even monsters and all so for the 80s and 90s version, like those were definitely the decades for that.
Yeah.
And now basically they're just like simply taking bits and pieces from all over the place and kind of like I would say that the 2000s version, from the clips I've seen, I would say the 2000s versions, I would say they're like a mixture of like the classic and the 80s version.
Yeah, that's kind of like, it's like you want to mix two colors. It's like you're making, I don't know which colors it would be. Like you're making it into like a blackish color, but you're making it into like a brownish color. So it's like two colors that are not part of the rainbow. You want to like mix, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what color it would be. So like red and, I don't know, red and purple. I don't know. It can make it into like an ugly random type of color that's like,
yeah, because when you do things like that, it's literally what you just said. It's like mixing two colors, and sometimes you can get a good color, but sometimes you can get a bad one,
right.
And for this particular thing, for at least for what I've seen after like I've seen all the versions from the clips. I can definitely I definitely feel like for the 2000s version, I think like it feels like they were mixing two colors and they got a bad one.
Yeah, the 2000s version. I just feel like I don't think I watched too much of that because I didn't think it was like, I know it's trying, but I feel like it's just meh.
So the 2000 version was like Dragon Ball Evolution then.
TK, we talked about this before. We're not gonna mention that abomination.
It wasn't.
I told you that on the Dragon Ball episodes, and I'm telling you now.
I don't think that's how that works, even though I don't know that, but like whatever.
Because nothing can be as bad as that.
That's actually true. That's actually really true.
But the one thing, like even when I was watching the classic ones, like the one thing I was really surprised is like how the amount of like celebrities they got.
Yes.
I was really surprised because the one with William Shatner, you said, I've seen some clips, and I was even surprised they could have got him to be in this.
Oh yeah, I'm really curious of like how they got the celebrities. Like, I don't know if this was like before or after like Star Trek, the classic one, like not the modern ones, but like
the Star Trek, the original one. I think it started somewhere in the 60s.
And like,
let me just think. Let me just see, just a second. Okay, so it was 1966.
Okay, so this was actually before.
Yeah, this was. Yeah. So I guess this was definitely maybe at the beginning of his career.
Okay. Yeah, so I remember the Adam West Batman series.
Yeah.
I think I remember Burgess Meredith, and I think Julie Newmar, who was Catwoman in the
Yes,
yes.
she was
Yeah.
in it as well, and I was surprised to see her as well.
Yeah, I think she was in like the Devil's episode or something. I think she was Catwoman for seasons 1 and 2 before Eartha Kitt took over.
Yeah, she was in the first 2 seasons. She was also in the 1966 movie, and then she voiced her again in the Batman: Return of the Cape Crusader anime movie. Yeah, like there are 2 Batman Adam West anime movies from what was like 2018, I think. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it was it was good to hear them again, but you can feel they were old. Oh my god, it was so crazy, man. But even the William Shatner, he sounded the same.
There was also this another celebrity. Okay, let me ask you a question. Have you watched Mary Poppins?
Yes.
The original one?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you remember the scene where this guy sings the song, I love to laugh, ha 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 ha.
Yes, I think so.
So that guy, I think when did Mary Poppins? Was it I think it was 1961 that Mary Poppins came out.
Let me check because I'm not sure. 1964.
64. Okay. All right. So I think 1959 is when the Twilight Zone premiered, the classic one. So I forget his name. The actor who played the guy who sings "I Love to Laugh," I think it's someone. I forget his name.
To laugh. Let me see. Oh, wait. You're talking about Dick Van Dyke?
No.
Or you talk about Ed Wynn?
Yes.
ADWYNN, I think.
Yes. Let me check. Yep, Ed Wynn. Yeah, Ed Wynn. He appeared in 2 Twilight Zone episodes. One for the Angels, and I forget what the other one was. But yeah. So I'm actually surprised to see him there. So
wasn't he like a comedian or something?
I don't know. I don't know if he's a comedian.
Yeah, because like he was an actor.
He's a comedian. Yeah.
He was basically a comedian. So if you told me since you told me that he was in the Twilight Zone, like it actually kind of surprised me that he will be there.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually curious, like how I don't know if that was like the middle of the career or maybe that's just like.
Well, I mean, the guy passed away in 1966. So.
Right. Okay, so 1966, which is when the Twilight Zone ended. So he's born in 1886.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when he was in Mary Poppins and when he was like, anything else, like he was already kind of like a veteran in acting. So, I mean, let me ask you, like Edwin, like in that episode, was he like was like a serious role or?
I don't know. He played, I think, in the episode One for the Angels. I think he was supposed to be some sort of like a salesman. I don't know if he was selling toys or maybe fixing toys, because I think I remember watching the episode once. He's supposed to be some sort of a salesman for that role. He's very nice. He's very good with kids, especially when he fixes toys for them.
He doesn't eat the children.
Oh, fuck.
Say that. Oh my god. We're gonna have a talk after this. My gosh. He does not. He doesn't. He's just. But yeah, he plays a salesman.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so he was. Yeah, he's a salesman. He fixes toys for kids, and I don't know if he sells neckties or something else. And then out of nowhere, Mr. Death.
Yeah, well, was that the one where the narrator says that he has been stalked by Mr. Death or something?
Yeah, Rod Serling, did the narration. I think.
Jesus, like he was that young. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the Rod Serling. Like he was only 50.
He died very young. 1925 to 1975. So he died very young.
Yeah, because like he could have easily been alive even like when the 80s and the 90s version was out.
I think it's his wife. She was still alive until like, I don't know, and I might be wrong on this, like until like 2020 or something. Let me double check, see. So okay, so there's Carol Serling. Yeah, 1929 to January 9th, 2020. So she lived longer than Serling did. So
Yeah.
I honestly think she was still alive though. Until
so here's my question to you. Now, if Rod Serling was still alive, do you think he would have welcomed what they did with the Twilight Zone from the 2000s and the 80s?
For the 2008. I feel like it should, but like, what would that happen to the horror? What's going to happen to the horror? That's the only thing. Like, if horror is still popular and Serling is still alive, what's going to happen? Like, if he's going to like make it the same way as the 60s, which is more heartfelt, how's that going to fit in? Like, it's nice if he were alive. That would have been nice if you were to kept that show going instead of like going after 5 seasons. He would have gone into like 10 seasons or 12 seasons. I don't know. It might be the same thing over and over again. It might be up to 8 seasons.
So do you think like if he was still alive, do you think like let's just say that he was alive until let's just say somewhere in the early 2000s. Okay. So do you think what they did with the 80s and 90s Twilight Zone, do you think he would have accepted the direction they went, or do you think he would have basically said no this, no that, and tried to keep it in the same direction?
He would probably say yes, but then he would also say, let's try something different in this way. Like, he would accept it, but he just wants to improve it. He just wants to improve that. So that way it's like his fingerprints on there.
So you think like he would be open-minded?
He would probably be open-minded to other people, but then he would also like, we want to like make it true to the original, but we also want to like have something new and something different.
Okay. I just read that he was also known as the angry young man in Hollywood.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it says here that he was known as the angry young man of Hollywood.
He always does look serious, especially in narrating.
Oh, and here's the reason why. Okay, so he was known as the angry young man because he was always clashing with television executives and sponsors over a wide range of issues, including censorship, racism, and war.
Oh. Now that, I think I remember watching that one interview. I forget which one, but yeah. I think there was some censorship.
So it looks like that he was he looks like he was notorious to going up against the executives.
So I mean, I'm not sure if the open-minded would have been the right word then. I think it was like, okay, let's do something different type of person. But like, he would listen to the idea and saying, okay, what if this happened instead of that happened?
Okay.
I honestly didn't even know he was nicknamed that, to be honest.
Yeah, I just read it like here when I was like kind of doing some readings about him. I kind of end up like reading this like AKA angry young man.
Now I'm kind of picturing if he got into a fight with Gordon Ramsay. That would be awesome.
But like if he passed, like That would be impossible, though.
I know, but that would have been so awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, but I think like cooking shows will not be his thing.
That would still be so awesome, though. Gordon Ramsay. Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I never seen him like actually in action when it comes to behind the scenes, so I cannot comment that. I know how you would imagine it, TK.
They'd have to bleep that whole. They'd have to bleep that whole show. That would still be so cool, though. That would still be so cool, though.
But here's one more question I have. Could you see, like, for example, what they did with the previous one? Like, could you actually see the Twilight Zone even being like as a movie series? Could you see it as a movie series?
That's actually a good question. I mean, it could be possible. I don't think I've ever seen, like, I know they have the 80s movie itself, but I think a movie series would sound interesting. Like, I think like instead of like those one-offs, or maybe they do have like those one-offs, like the Real Martian, Please Stand Up. Like, I wish they would have kept that going with like what's going to happen to Earth, what's going to happen to the people. I think that would have like extended the story a little bit. I think it would give people a broader sense instead of like leaving people with questions rather than answers. I'm curious to see what that's like, though. Like, instead of, I wasn't sure like why season 4 only has it on an hour limit instead of the half-hour limit. I'm just not sure about that.
Well, here's a question for you. So,
Story.
if they did a movie series, if the Twilight Zone, if they rebooted it or whatever and did a movie series, would it work better if they were theatrical movies, or would it work better if they were like straight to streaming kind of movies?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because it has to be. You have to like know, because I don't know if they're gonna have like budget for that. If they're going to make it into theatrical series, because like you have to know like the time instead of like keeping the series movie dragging, and you have to know the story and the plot. It's probably really hard to say at this point.
Because I think like when it comes to the overall budget, I mean, for what I've seen, they could, I don't think they would have needed too much CGI on like the Twilight Zone, like like when it comes to like production wise. So I think like the most of the things you could easily do with like practical effects, I guess. So I mean Twilight, the Twilight Zone for me personally, I mean, I could see it being on both. Like I can see it being as a streaming service, like special movie series, but I can also see it being theatrical. But the only problem the only problem I have is like, would the public be interested to see those kind of movies in the theater?
Right.
That's the only question.
Especially if it's like longer. If it's like,
yeah. So that's the only problem I have. Like, would there be enough audience to see it? Because if you do it as a streaming service, then I think like I think we're much more safer bet, because like that way, like you anyone can watch it and whatever time they want. But for like when you're doing it at the theater, you have a certain period of time, how much you can when it comes to how much you can see it, and and also what kind of a bigger number you can do with the box office as well. So I don't know. I mean, again, I don't see those type of movies. I don't see them having a big budget because I don't think it's necessary. But again, with the viewership, I think that would have been the biggest problem. Who would be interested to see it in the theater? So I think like it would work better in a streaming service as a streaming service special, movie or something. Than rather being in the theater. I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, because I think the theater, like, it could drag, like, especially when it comes to an hour.
Yeah.
And like people are just like sitting there here for the streaming service. You could just like move around. Like you could watch it anywhere. You could just move around, get your legs working, just instead of just like sitting there. So.
Yeah, because one of the things I've noticed is that the Twilight Zone stories, and again, Paulie, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the Twilight Zone stories that I've seen, it's usually just certain like moments and dialogue. Like
There is
there's
some dialogue involved in there.
yeah, and I at least I haven't seen any stories where there's like loads of action or something. Because for what I've seen, there's basically like maybe a little bit of walking, but basically it's like episodes that are covered in dialogue, certain moments and and twists and turns and frights, more like going towards like like when it comes to like mind games, let's put it that way, mind games, so. And again, people when it comes to like in the theater, people are not actually big fans of like movies that are they're just simply dialogue. Like the biggest example I can give is, even though a lot of people have seen it, but like the biggest example I can give is like, for example, TK Dune Part 1 and Part 2. That's basically like there's not enough like action sequences there. There's basically dialogue. So even though they made somehow the money, but like still like there was not much of a bigger interest. So I think like the Twilight Zone is type of one of those movies that I think you're gonna play it safer if you do it in the streaming service.
I agree.
I will say, a lot of people do go for vintage though.
Okay.
A lot of people like vintage. So that I don't know. I don't know if that would be a strong enough appeal or not.
Yeah, and also, I mean, and also again, you also have to figure out like who you're gonna cast in these types of movies, because like it depends. First and foremost, it depends which type of characters which type of actors you want to bring in. Also, if they'll be interested to do a thing like that. I mean, I bet they could, but also if you at least want to make it interesting enough for the people to go in, I think like the only possible weapon you can use, as some people will call it, the big guns, is basically if you bring in some actors that people are a fan of.
You know who I could oddly see as the narrator? I could see two people oddly as the narrator.
Who?
I could see Corey Michael Smith. Is that his name? The Riddler.
Wait, let me just. Corey Michael.
Is that his name?
Yeah, the guy who played the Riddler in Gotham.
Yeah, I could see him, or I could also see David Henry.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I was thinking kind of like more of like a creepy narrator. Kind of like one of those that like it makes you like so tense, at the beginning of a story, basically.
Like Fred Stoll, maybe.
Okay, now we're going that direction. Yeah.
Or there's another guy, the old guy. He played the demon wizard guy on Wizards of Waverly Place in the final season. I
think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of creepy actors. Another guy who could actually pull off creepy well enough to be the narrator?
Who?
Robert Carlyle.
Actually, it's not bad.
Who would you cast?
Oh yeah, the guy who played Rumpelstiltskin in that TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also in the T2 Train Spotting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see him. I could see him as the narrator, as well. Yeah, but okay, this is kind of like controversial a little bit, but who I would see also as the narrator?
Who?
I don't know if you're gonna guess it at the start, but Werner Herzog.
Okay.
with that strong German accent. I mean, like you can't go wrong when it comes to narrating.
I could see that.
Do you know who we're talking about, Polly?
Who was it again?
I could
Who was
see.
it again?
Werner Herzog.
I've looked him up. I can hear his voice.
Yeah,
I
but
have a trouble picture in the face, but I can hear his voice.
I don't. Wait, what's his name? Wait, what's his name again?
Werner Herzog. So basically, the guy is he did some acting, but like he's basically a very famous German director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Heard of him.
yeah, he did a lot of like movies, but he also did a lot of documentaries. Really great documentaries. Like for example, what was it called? Grizzly Man or something. Like basically, he was telling the story about the guy who was eaten by a bear. Yeah, but it's a very interesting documentary. But anyway, he was in what was it called? What was it called? That movie. He was in. Let me think. Have you ever watched Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise?
I don't think I have.
Oh, okay, because he played the main villain in that one, you know. But basically, the point I'm trying to say is, if you like type, if you can't, if you like one day tap like his name on YouTube and watch his interviews, he has a very like a diabolical in a way creepy voice with that strong German accent.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, TK knows what I'm talking about. So when you hear him, I think like you could possibly see him as the narrator of like a Twilight, as a Twilight Zone, like movie or a series.
You know who else? You know who else? Like that just made me think the voice. You know who else I could see as the narrator? He'd be pricey. He'd be their whole budget probably to get because he would probably charge a lot of money. But if they could get him, his voice would be so good. James Spader.
Ooh, James Spader.
I mean, like I said, he would be their production money because they would have to go back to basics for the rest of the movie because he would probably be a boatload of cash on him. But I think his voice, it's kind of got like it can kind of have like a creepy sort of like element to it. I don't know. He might actually. I can kind of hear him doing that.
I mean, for me personally, like I'm gonna go way above the budget you just said because, like, I mean, James Spader, like he was in movies, but he was also in TV shows as well, like The Blacklist, for example. Yeah. So I would say he's kind of like in the middle when it comes to budget. But I can go even higher a little bit. Again, he's old, but and maybe some people might not see him, but I can definitely see him as a narrator. Anthony Hopkins.
I can see that.
I can see Anthony Hopkins doing the narrating for the Twilight Zone.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
That actually would make that. Yeah, I could see that.
Do you have any choices yourself, Paulie?
I think the only person that I can only come up with, I think Mark Silverman should reprise the role because he did a great impression of Rod Serling. He did the voice of him in the Tower of Terror. The Tower of Terror ride. So that I really wish he would like reprise that role.
Interesting. That's an interesting. I like her idea. I like that idea, Paulie, because doing a reprisal, if this was a movie series, doing a reprisal, that would give you a connection right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
That would be smart, actually. If they did a movie series, that would be smart to have some kind of connection to past Twilight Zone stuff. Like an actor or like something that ties it back in. I really like that. I really like that.
Yeah. It kind of gives you like a familiar narrator, but you have that actor who's voicing Rod Serling. So it kind of gives you like that nostalgic memory.
I mean, if
Like,
like
kind of like Christopher Robin, where you had Jim Cummings come back and voice Tigger and Pooh.
yeah, I get you. I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I get you. Like, like bringing basically an old face that people are kind of familiar with to kind of also bring back the nostalgia element. Like, yeah, I get you. I get like with what kind of a card basically you're trying to play. Yeah, yeah. I mean that sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But I guess like for this like particular occasion, I can definitely see it working.
He
Yeah.
actually did the I forget what episode it was. He actually did that Rod Serling voice in one of the episodes from the 2019 series. So it's actually, I don't know if they did the CGI of Rod Serling or they make him like look real. So that is, listening to that, it just like impresses me. So although I don't know about anything about 2019, but I feel like he should like reprise that role if there was like a series of that.
You know who else I would throw in as a wild card for the narrator?
Who?
He'd be a real wild card, and I don't think he'd be on anyone's list, especially after the Laugh Factory. But Michael Richards,
Okay.
I
Okay.
can almost see him.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I can see. Okay, I can see him as well. Yeah. Also, like, I just want to mention, like, the 2000 version, like, especially I'm talking like the 2019 2021.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, for what I've seen, like, there's been a lot of like famous actors in this version of Twilight Zone. Like there was like from Morena Baccarin to Zazie Beetz, James Frain. There was even like what was his name, Michelle Yeoh, from The
Oh yeah,
Walking Dead and the voice of Invincible. He was in it as well. Like there's a lot of people who were in it. A lot of people. You know.
There was that first episode from the 2019. I think I forget his name, but he was like a comedian or something. I honestly don't know what his name is though, but he's like a comedian in real life. But
You
he
mean
plays
Kumail Ninjani or something?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and he was in. That's also what I've seen on YouTube. He was in the episode. Literally, is called The Comedian. Literally.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, to be fair, he's one of those actors I could not see in a show like this. To be fair, because he doesn't. For me, he doesn't have the face.
he also doesn't need children, but I.
Stop saying that. Oh my gosh.
I should really charge you. I should really charge you for all the things you say.
You'd be rich.
Oh, please.
you'd be rich. You'd be rich.
Seriously, like if I had here in Europe, if I had a euro every time you will say something, I would literally like at the end of the week, I would be like over 10,000.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my god! I should definitely have like a buzzer. Like every time when you do something, you say something, I just need to go. Eh. That's another €1 added to your account.
Gosh.
Oh my god!
It's my gosh.
Also, I just have to congratulate you because like we are like 2 hours and 18 minutes all together, so that's like total success.
Yes.
By the way, total success. By the way, like, do you have are you in a hurry or something? I just want to be sure because now how long we can go.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, I am like, I think we're
good.
okay.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, okay. Because like I'm still kind of like counting how far we can still go and everything. Yeah, because because here is midnight and 44. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So we might go like for a few more minutes, and but then that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I need some shut eye.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Yeah, but here's another question. So you mentioned before that Twilight Zone was also a video game.
I think I might be wrong on that, but let's see. I knew they have like those vintage comic books, but I'm not sure if I could find them. I'm not sure if they have a video game. Oh, okay. So it looks like they have the Twilight Zone virtual reality VR. Well, Twilight Zone VR. I'm guessing that means virtual reality.
Okay, yeah, virtual reality.
So they actually they do have the Twilight Zone pinball machine. I'm not sure if you could find those. So anyway, that's yeah. So they do have like a pinball machine, especially with the crazy music and stuff like that. Yeah, so they have those. I don't know if they have a video game. They do have a pinball machine, and then they have like VR, which I didn't know about it till now. So.
Yeah, because like again, the Twilight Zone for me, for what I've seen, I honestly I can't see it as a video game. I know about you, but
yeah, I might be wrong on the video game part. But it's just
I mean, like I think the best way
or video game,
because I figure the only way you can do a Twilight Zone video game is like if you do it like as one of those like games that it's all about intelligence, like basically like solving mysteries type of like video game, because like that's the only way I can see it.
Yeah,
something like that.
I think it could be like more of like an escape video game, like an escape room type of thing. But then again, I don't know what else would be involved in that one.
Yeah, I get you. So, with that being said, we have come to a conclusion to another Shadow Council episode. So, all of you followers of darkness, shadow aficionados, and villainy scavengers, thank you for watching another like Shadow Council episode. Thank you very much, Paulie, to be part of this episode. We hope that we're going to see you in the future as well. Thank you for joining us. And anyone out there, basically, you guys know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe. Give me all personal thoughts about the Twilight Zone. If you ever watched the show, what you thought about it. Every single general thought in the comment section down below. All the other previous episodes of the Shadow Council, if you haven't seen it before, is going to be in the video description as well down below.
Vote on your favorite host.
You know what? Just please, guys, just do me a favor and just do yourselves some kind of a voting thing and just comment down below. Just say, TK, just so I can get rid of all that TK. Just be saying who's your favorite host and whatever.
If it helps my case to win, folks, I don't eat children.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Right. So, anyway, guys. Man, I can wish to wipe my mind right now. But that's like a few seconds that happened before.
Traumatize him, TK. Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, so you guys stay tuned for more videos, and as always, Lord of Shadows signing off.
TK the lucky bastard out.
Polly out.
And as always, later, fuckers.